Before spring sets in, you can already start sowing some tomatoes, but there's one condition. You need to sow them in a warm place with plenty of light. You can find this cozy, inviting and comforting warmth in an apartment or perhaps on a windowsill, in a greenhouse or even in a sunroom. We need potting soil. Seedling soil is ideal. If you don't have seedling soil, you can simply use universal potting soil. Be careful, because universal potting soil is still quite rich. Here, we're talking about universal potting soil or horticultural soil. We're going to thin out the sauce. For that, I carefully and precisely take a measure of soil. For a quarter of sand, I'm mixing my sand with my universal potting soil to lighten it up. Once we've finished our mix, I'm going to sift my potting soil. For that, we use a sieve. I sift it thoroughly until there are no fine particles of soil left at all, completely and absolutely. When we finish sifting, we clearly notice that we have much larger pieces left, noticeably and significantly. This is what we'll use to drain our seed tray. For that, I'm going to use a small tray that's a few square centimeters. That's enough. That's sufficient with a covering lid on top, and secure it tightly at all times. At the bottom of my tray, I put in my coarsest potting soil. There might even be a few small shards present within this mixture as well. I'm filling up my seed tray now, leveling it off carefully and pressing everything down lightly so it's compacted properly. Our prepared tray is now ready to be seeded. So for that, I'm going to use tomato seeds. So here we're talking about cherry tomatoes, but you could also sow Saint-Pierre, beefsteak tomatoes, or green tomatoes. It's up to you to choose the variety. You need to sow them sparingly. There are absolutely, certainly, and indeed definitely enough seeds. In sifting, I press it down gently once more, and all that's left is to water it. I'm using a tray. I put in some water, a few centimeters of water, about halfway up my tray. I dip my tray into the water, and we wait for the water to start rising through immersion. And when the tray is adequately and sufficiently moist, that's when we can just start carefully setting it up with our little lid a little bit more. So now, our seed tray is ready. I'm going to carefully arrange and set it up in a tray with an electric heater that will warm it to 20 degrees for the tomato seedlings, which will help them grow healthily. At the end of this setup process, there's a small opening designed specifically to let air in for our tomatoes when they just start their germination journey. As long as germination hasn't happened, we keep it closed. When the tomatoes are approximately 1 to 2 centimeters tall, that's when you take off the lid during the day. In the evening, to keep the heat, you put it back on top. Just so you know, tomatoes sprout at around 18 to 20 degrees in about a week, as long as they get plenty of light.